Welcome back to the 2016-2017 NBA preview. Today we are covering the 19th ranked team, the Minnesota Timberwolves. My name is Josh, your Envyerz, and with me today, my co-host like usual.
How's it going, guys? King of the fourth quarter, aka Jaree. Welcome back to the NBA preview.
So the Minnesota Timberwolves, bright future team. A lot of people are hyping on the bandwagon right now. They got studs in Andrew Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns and even Zach LaVine. But before we go into the future, let's take a look at what they did last season. Last season, this Minnesota Timberwolves team went 29-53. Injuries to guys like Nikola Pekovic, who the big question around him is what do they do with that man now that they got Karl-Anthony Towns, they got Gorgui Dieng, and a lot of their offseason signings were big men. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with him.
The big thing is Flip Saunders passed away.
Rest in peace to Flip Saunders, unfortunately. He was projected to be the coach, but then, the events happened. And
for Sam Mitchell, who even agreed himself that he's not the best coach for this current team, but he sat through 82 games, but now they got somebody new.
They do. And that new coach is Tom Thibodeau. So Andrew Wiggins, your knees are going to be ran into the ground, so congratulations.
Hey, it's Luol Deng 2.0.
So hopefully this season they'll be a more improved team and win more than 29 games. So let's take a look at how they did that and how they tried to improve this year by taking a look at the offseason moves. They didn't do a lot. They didn't really do anything, and a lot of the moves are pretty questionable. So they acquired Jordan Hill, Cole Aldrich, and Brandon Rush, and lost Tayshaun Prince and Desmond Rhodes, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right, and drafted Chris Dunn at number 5.
The overall offseason was weird to me because they have so many bigs on the team right now already with Nikola Pekovic, Karl-Anthony Towns, Gorgui Dieng. It just didn't make much sense to me to bring in Cole Aldrich and Jordan Hill. I can see one or the other, but both it's kind of suspect. But I did like them drafting Chris Dunn. Definitely. I was a huge fan of that drafting.
I feel like just looking at their rotation, which we will in a second, that in the power forward and center, they're completely stacked, while the other positions, such as the shooting guard and small forward, they're extremely weak. Like once Zach LaVine and Andrew Wiggins are off the court.
Yeah, that's it. So one interesting thing about their offseason actually is that Ricky Rubio basically said if they don't make the playoffs this year, he's going to start looking to be moved. He's going to basically request a trade if they don't make the playoffs. Saying he's 26 years old and he hasn't been in the playoffs yet. He wants to get to that spot, and if it doesn't happen this year, then he's going to start thinking about his future. So I think that's really interesting, and I think that the Minnesota Timberwolves head office kind of realized that, and that's why they went out to get Chris Dunn, kind of some insurance. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not they trade him and basically try to figure out his worth, because we're thinking about it, what team needs a starting point guard? Only team I can think of just off the top of my head is like the Milwaukee Bucks, who basically have Matthew Dellavedova and the Greek Freak kind of their point guard. So I don't know.
Do they need a point guard?
I mean, that's a team that comes to mind just off the top of my head.
I feel like with what they're doing, the Bucks do not need a point guard. I feel like teams that are in trouble, like the Brooklyn Nets, could use a point guard. Other teams such as the Sacramento Kings, they only have Darren Collison.
They do only have Darren Collison, and I don't think he's a starting quality point guard.
Adding Ricky Rubio to that equation, a pass-first point guard similar to Rajon Rondo, maybe him and Boogie. Nice pick-and-roll action going along there.
But then you also have to think about what do they trade away? What do I get back for Ricky Rubio? I was thinking more Bucks because we've heard the rumors about Greg Monroe.
They do have a lot of big men in Sacramento, but so does the Timberwolves. So that's right. That's right. I see.
So, evaluating his worth is going to be tough. It kind of depends on how he starts to perform this season. So, it'll definitely be interesting to see if they keep him throughout this year. Guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, him and Nikola Pekovic, they have a lot of questions surrounding players that no longer are needed there. And it will be interesting to see what they get back for those said players. So with that said, let's take a look at the rotation for this Minnesota Timberwolves team. The projected starting lineup is Ricky Rubio, Zach LaVine, Andrew Wiggins, Gorgui Dieng, and Karl-Anthony Towns, or their bench is Chris Dunn, Brandon Rush, Shabazz Muhammad, Kevin Garnett, and Cole Aldrich.
And KG is still playing. As far as their rotation, I think it's good. I mean, their starting lineup for sure looks solid. They don't have a power forward. Guess Kevin Garnett kind of classifies with him being almost 40. I don't see him playing much this season. Gorgui Dieng, that him and Karl-Anthony Towns played solid together, but I think they definitely need a power forward.
A stretch four.
They need shooting at that position. They need shooting to get like as a team. But a stretch four would be great for them.
And they have the pieces to trade away for a quality stretch four, but instead they have Jordan Hill. So Jordan Hill is going to be stretching the floor for them, shooting those quality mid-range jumpers and clanking threes occasionally.
Yeah, I guess if we're going to talk about stretch, the only thing they really have is Karl-Anthony Towns has showed the ability to make the three-point shot, but I think he does most of his work down low, so I wouldn't want him posting or on the perimeter. So there's a lot of things that they need to fill with this team, but I'm actually really high on them this season, and I'll talk about that in a couple minutes.
And hoping that Tom Thibodeau doesn't turn Karl-Anthony Towns into Serge Ibaka and just leave him out there at the three-point line. That'd be awful if that would happen. I'm assuming that's not going to happen, but like you said, power forward position, very, very questionable. Where's the shooting coming from this team? They got Brandon Rush, who's a sharpshooter, but he's getting pretty old, you know. He's been riding the bench with the Warriors, winning championships with them, or one rather. Moving on to the projections of this Minnesota Timberwolves team, considering there's not really much to talk about. Where do you see this team being this season? They won 29 games last season, lost 53. Over, under, have at it.
I'm going to go over. And me and Josh actually had a disagreement here. The videos that you guys watch in this order is actually his order, and I have my own order. And I had this team up. And I'm really high on this team, as a lot of people are. Karl-Anthony Towns is a complete stud. Wiggins has showed to be a good, at least second option for the team. Zach LaVine seems to get better every year. The Chris Dunn draft is just amazing. I'm very high on this team, so of course you could probably tell. I'm going to go over. I'm going to actually say about 38, 39 wins, maybe even 40. I'm really high because honestly, coaching is such a big part in this league, and they didn't have a coach last year. Sam Mitchell was not a coach, and now they have one, the best coach on the market this offseason. Immediately picked him up, and I think that was their best offseason move by far. So I'm gonna go over.
I'm gonna have to agree with you here. The only problem I have with your projection for the Minnesota Timberwolves team is that they're a very young team, and I feel like I say this a lot in the NBA previews, or I might not, but young teams are very, very questionable. You don't know whether you're going to be performing horribly or amazing.
Yeah,
and I feel like
is a problem with young teams. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like this team, give them another year. You know, you don't want to rush anything, and I feel like I said this last year about the Detroit Pistons. Give them one more year, and then they'll be something in the NBA. So maybe this year is the Minnesota Timberwolves' year to make it to that 8th spot and get swept by the Warriors. Maybe they'll pull the Pistons on me and, you know, surprise me like crazy. But as of right now, I see this Minnesota Timberwolves team improving, but I don't see them making the playoffs, and I do see another team in front of them being that 9th seed in the Western Conference. My projection is maybe 30 to 35 wins in the Western Conference. Definitely an improved team. It'd be a stretch to say they win 40, but stranger things have happened, and history has shown that I'm not always right in these NBA previews, but at the same time, I'm not always wrong. So with that said, I'm sure this is going to be a controversial episode, to say the least. Maybe, maybe not. Let me know in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree with my ranking? Jaree obviously has this team making some noise and possibly even getting into that playoffs position, right?
Definitely a chance.
I don't want to say that for sure, considering I don't want to oversell this Minnesota Timberwolves team. I'm going to play it safe and say this is a good ranking for this team, a very young team, and in a year, give them a year, and they'll be in the playoffs if offseason goes according to plan and if the health is there. Health is a very key component to each and every team's success, so we'll definitely have to wait and find out. So if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like on this video, share it around on any social media. Like usual, all of our social media links will be in the description below for you guys to check out as well. It really means a lot if you show support, spend a lot of hours and effort onto the transitions and into editing the videos and recording, so it'd be great if you guys showed support. Any last words?
Thank you guys so much for watching.
With that said, we'll talk to you in the next episode.